Hi there, and welcome to another chapter of the electric BMW 320i project. Yeah, I know it's been nearly a year since my last video and update to my website, but lots been going on since we moved into this new house. Mostly, doing new things at the house, like building another two-car garage. Yeah, you'll see more of that. I got a new job, and I also got married. Yes, we did get married in a winery. It was a really great venue for that. But in between all that, I was able to get some work done on this car, and the biggest problem that I solved was with power brakes. And that was really what enabled it to be able to take to the state inspection and pass. But I had a lot of other things I had to do, just tidy up, and I'll show a bunch of video about that. And then also driving car around, and it just really drives great, and I'm really happy that everything's working now. So let's take a look. I discovered the only solution to my power brake problem was replacing this booster module here, and unfortunately, as you can see, it's going to require a lot of disassembly to get that out, but that's what's apparently is leaking the vacuum, which causes the vacuum pump to run all the time, and there's no power brake action, so that's the problem. It's been an issue trying to find a replacement. These remanufactured ones, a lot of them around, but not for the 320. I thought I might be able to make this fit, but it's just a little too big. And fortunately, I was able to find one for a 320. It's actually a brand new part. Somebody must have been hanging on to for the last 30 years, because it's brand new. It's never been installed, which should make a good working part, but you still got to get this old one out, and it's also going to require bleeding the brakes again, so lots of fun. Alright, first step, getting the master cylinder out of there. It came out not so bad, but still made a mess. Brake fluid. So the next thing is try and pull this guy out and get the new one in. Might be able to do that today. Don't run into any other problems. Alright, got the new one in. Old one didn't come out too bad. Only problem was I had to remove my throttle body to provide the clearance to get it around the DMOC, but looks like it went in okay. It's always that bottom bolt down there, really tough to get to, but I knew about that, so it seems like it went in. So the next thing is get the master cylinder connected back up on it and start bleeding the brakes. While I had this all apart to give me a little more access, I decided to open up my contactor box down here and check out these contactors to see. So it certainly appeared like one of them fused, and I think it just was something that the JevQ did, because they all appear open. So I guess problem is really trying to test whether they'll actuate. I do know they make noise, so they are actuating. It's just check them out and make sure they have zero resistance when closed. Just to figure out if I can do that without turning on the whole car. Well, successful replacement of the vacuum booster. We'll see pressure bleed the brakes, and then check it out and see if I have power brakes. Certainly hope so. This is kind of a lot of work to fix that, and it should do it now though. Well, here we are again, bleeding the brakes. Still doesn't come out with great velocity, but I guess it'll work. Hopefully, if there is any air that comes in, it won't get stuck up in that pocket that's above the bleed screw, and I won't have to take the caliper off and twist it around like I did before to get it to bleed. So we'll try putting about a half a liter through on each wheel and then see if there's any brakes. I got it all back together and the vacuum pump on, and now vacuum pump seems to be, or the vacuum very tight. It's not leaking down. I think that definitely was the problem with the vacuum leak before. Pump just chuckles every once in a while. It does take a couple pedal pumps and you get one. So the thing now is to find out if that's actually power brakes or just pushing the brake pedal and losing the vacuum. That pump's going to run like that a lot. Again, it's just you can touch the brakes a couple of times and then the pump comes on. And I think it might just be the way vacuum brakes are going to be in the electric car, unless I figure out a way to have a bigger reservoir. But well, next thing to do is get it on the road and really see if these are power brakes. Here's one of the things that took a long time to get all together. The windshield washer reservoir. I was able to get a brand new one because that was still a in stock BMW part. You can see the part number right there, but the problem is the way the motor attached was different than my old. This is like a 85 or 86 reservoir, and they changed the way the motor is mounted. So my motor used to go inside. The new motor goes on this clip, which you can't get in there because the motor's not available. Reservoir available, motor not available. So I had to take my old motor, which was available brand new, and adapt it with some brackets and hoses. So now that actually works as a windshield washer. So they do work, and the jet's a little a little strong. Kind of like shoots it right over the window, but they do work, and believe it or not, they actually test for something like that. Big project in the fall was getting a new two-car garage built, and here you see the groundbreaking happening. It seemed to take forever to finally get started, but once they got that dug out, it was very quick to get the footer foundation concrete poured, and then the next thing was to get the walls put up, the concrete walls which are on the sides, and that all had to be put up before the any wood could be put up. But even before that could be done, we had to have the driveway paved, because here in the Northeast the asphalt plants turn off at the end of October, as soon as the ground starts to freeze. So finally they were able to start, after that, building the actual frame of the garage, and now you'll see more of the actual construction. Yeah, first snowstorm of the season. Nice 6 inches. Pretty here in the winter. But unfortunately, the garage didn't get finished before, at least the roof. Well, that's construction in New England in the winter. What a pain in the ass. Well, it's going to be interesting to see how they do that, those peaks together. Yeah, that's less than 24 feet. And then have to snow blow this whole area out. What a pain. And I still have to get the lift installed so you get the roof on. See, it's going to be a nice high ceiling, but still a lot of work to do. Well, they got the siding up. It's actually starting to look like a garage. Got to get the garage doors on. I guess they can't do that until they get the plaster done, which will be hopefully this week. But hey, it looks actually like a garage. Look at that. Now I have garage doors. Finally. Kind of crazy though with the high ceiling, the infrastructure. They got to build the frame up to hold the garage door opener as well as the frames. But that should work. And see, this is the roll up, and it's unfortunately manual. But you can see the insulation on it. It is insulated. Both doors are well insulated, and so is the whole garage. So when we get the heater, we'll go up in that corner. Should be all set. Finally, after a long time of working on getting this garage built, finally got the car lift installed. And there you can see the Z3 up there, and that's going to be its winter residing place. And the 320 below it, same thing, that's where it's going to hang out all winter. But for now, it's just set up and I'll work on it. It took them about 3 hours to put this in. It's nice, it's lagged to the concrete, and it just has a little 220 volt motor and compressed air. That's all it takes to lift a 3,000 pound vehicle. It's crazy. And also the bolt's gonna live in here too. So now I just have to do some more work on the 320 to get it going, although there is some big issue with the drive system. Here's a look at the engine bay, and you'll see what I mean. I had, I don't know, quite a couple months ago I couldn't get the car to move, and I suspect it was the JevQ that's in the enclosure on the right there. So, you know, the only thing I could do is I made up a second JevQ and plugged it in, and after getting everything calibrated, the car worked. I mean, what I'm seeing before was that first JevQ would lose its memory, it would lose its states that have to turn on contactors and stuff. In fact, it caused a contactor to fail. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the JevQ and the Azure Dynamics inverter here, the DMOC, and replace that all with a Scott inverter that I recently purchased, because I'm just really worried about the reliability of this whole system here. and also not knowing exactly how all the code works, even though I worked on it a bit, but don't really have the support for that anymore. So I really want to get to a drive system that's supported. Technical support's very important on this stuff, and should actually be better. It's a 150 kilowatt inverter peak, so it matches the Siemens much better. But it's going to require a lot of work. All this is going to have to come out. Even my electronics aren't going to be necessary because the Scott has a contactor in it. So actually quite a lot of work to put that in, but that's what I'll be starting. As soon as I get this thing, I think I'll probably still try and get it inspected and roadworthy, because everything else is ready to go on it. But that was the thing that stopped me from last fall going to get it inspected, was all of a sudden the car wouldn't move, couldn't get any torque out of the motor, and it was the Jev Cube. So we'll be fixing that later, but great news now that the car lift is in. Alrighty, time for our big adventure. Let's turn the vacuum pump on. Get some brakes. Okay. Go off on our big adventure. Beautiful day to be out for a drive. Through the forest. This is my daily commute. A narrow 2-lane road that winds through the Harold Parker State Forest. A lot of hiking and biking, kayaking. There's a couple of big ponds. It's a really nice place. Oh yeah, and fishing. Quite a few people fish here. This is very odd. I guess right around the corner here used to be an old fish hatchery like 40 years ago, and the fish still seem to come to this point. It's kind of interesting. to the forest every morning. Okay. One spoke is right in front of the speedometer. Oh well. Really smooth. That motor still screams loud. It's like right around 4,000 RPM. Brakes. They're still dragging a little bit. A lot of stoplights. Park it right up front and see if we can go right in. Here we go, finally, an inspection sticker passing. Didn't even look at everything, but that's fine. Now I won't have to worry about this for another year. Unfortunately, the little 12-volt battery is not working out in the front, so had to put a larger 12-volt battery here in the trunk, and that required running a cable all the way to the front because that's where all the electronics are. So that's a lot of fun. I had to rip up some of the carpeting to do that. Had to replace the lead acid battery because it leaked acid during the charging of it. So I got this dry cell that's completely sealed, and it's even bigger battery. It's 44 amp hours, and seems to work really well so far. Stays charged I had it off for over 2 weeks while I was away, and it still turned the car on. So that's going to be a much better setup than that small battery in the front, and now this one back here. Yeah, one other thing I got to do while this is having my great lift is replace the drive shaft. So I had bought one of these and was worried about the particularly that universal joint there. So that got replaced. Fixed the gear shift knob that was put in there 180 degrees wrong, so straightened that out. And then here's the new connection for the battery, and just connecting that right into the fuse for the DC-DC converter. Interstate for one exit jump over the river. Well, you can see I really enjoy driving that car around. Drives just as good as my other BMWs. Accelerates just as fast, and I got two major milestones. I got the inspection done, and I'm starting to drive it every day for work, although I've only been able to do that a few times. But the inspection was kind of weird. You didn't see anything else after I drove up there. That particular day, they were closed. It's like, I don't understand that. I thought they had to do that every day because they're a Massachusetts inspection station, but apparently it's up to the people working there whether they're going to do it or not. So I had to come back another time, and I didn't have the cameras ready for that, so I just went in and did it. But I'm not sure they would have let me in there with the cameras. It's kind of a strange thing they got going on. But it passed, and that's great because now the car has no problems with it. It can be driven. But there is one issue, or actually two. I really want to get the suspension tuned because now with a little extra weight in the over the rear axles, it sags a little bit, and I'd like to get that flattened out, and maybe even some new tires, some 15-inch rims, so that the brakes don't drag anymore. So watch for those two updates and future videos, but for now, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you later.